It's time for the Everyman, where real man talk.
Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Everyman. If you are an existing listener who's listened before, you may have just heard our brand new intro created by the wonderful Job, who is still on a 2-match ban now from Ethan for talking too much 2 episodes ago. So tonight I'm super excited to bring you all to listen to our wonderful guest, Mr. Jamie Denyer. Jamie is someone who I've had huge admiration for over many years of being connected on LinkedIn, and someone who on the daily gives huge inspiration for people who are maybe struggling with some challenging times in their life, maybe need that kick, and is just an all-round great guy to be connected to and follow. Jamie, with an intro like that, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Listen, yeah, really, really good. But it sounds like I'm going to be a little bit light in the pocket for having to pay for that intro, my man. It's thank you very much. Honoured. No,
we are honestly super pleased to have you tonight. So thank you very much. Before we get kicked off on the pod, we have a usual thing that we do. We just go around, see how everyone's week's been. How's everyone getting on? Ethan, we'll start with you. How's your week been so far?
Yeah, I mean, my week's nearly over. Listen to that intro. You know, it was Monday when it started. It's now Friday. I'm going out tonight. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, my weekend was sound. Didn't really do much. You know, finished The Last of Us. I don't know if any of you guys been watching it at all. Great show. Done some light reading. You know, I'm reading something called The Chimp Paradox again. I've read it about 3 times now. Great book. But yeah, it's been pretty chill. Nothing major. For those of you that don't know, I had back surgery a couple of months ago. I don't think I mentioned it on last week's episode, so I'm slipping. So I'm doing a lot of recovery on that. Yeah, so it's an exciting time. But actually, we've got Matt back as well, Matt Slater. So
hello, son.
How are you doing? You all right, son?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a while since I've been on the pod. First episode, took a couple of weeks. To be fair, last couple of weeks has been a strange one. Struggled a little bit mentally and just thought best to take a step back and look after myself instead of putting too much effort into maybe things that I can't do when I'm feeling low. You know, that takes emotional stress out of me. But on the up now, took that time for myself and feeling a bit better. Went and did a run earlier on. Did 2.5 kilometers. First run since I did one with Dino before Christmas.
I was going to say, it's not like you.
That was nice. I know. But yeah, just been in the gym today. Usual grind for me. What about Dino? What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, if other listeners will know, it's my wedding on Sunday. And to say I'm stressed, I'm not really, but there's just loads to do. But my missus is stressed because she's taking care of everything. We're going to have an amazing wedding, and it's all going to be thanks to her because I've done nothing at all. But I just a final stretch now, just crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and keen to go. And then I'm sure next Monday we'll be able to give you an update on how that went. We're already technically married, so she can't say I don't. So it's a win-win, I guess.
Yeah, superb, mate. It's nice to see that you're so busy that you can't even make your bed in the background either. Before Ethan
this is our mum's bed. This is our mum's bed.
Why not mum's?
Why are you at a mum's house?
No, she's over from Japan, isn't she?
She's gonna say no if she finds out what you've been doing with her mum.
That is very true.
She doesn't listen to the podcast, so we're all right.
Fair enough. Jamie, how are you? How's your week been so far? I know it's only Monday, technically.
No, I know. But it just kind of seems that days are kind of blurring into one another. But yeah, I mean, it's been eventful. It's been a real blessing. Listen, I kind of cherish every time that I have, like, with my with my girls, like because I co-parent, like, with my ex-wife, like, whenever I'm with my girls, it's just an amazing thing, you know. Cherish every single second. But then on the other side of the coin, you know, I've been dealing with a lot of stuff behind the scenes. You know, just recently, like I'm I'm kind of coaching like this young 18-year-old young lady that's basically watching her mum die in front of her eyes, like proper stage 4 cancer, and she's literally got weeks to live. So I'm kind of coaching her for the upcoming like event. It's hard. And there's there's another lady whose 15-year-old daughter took an overdose and tried to take her own life a couple of days ago. So you can see the extremes. You can see from one end of the spectrum to the other of kind of what I deal with. I'm a just all in, hands-on family man, and just a real blessing. With my kids. I love my family. But then on the other hand, daddy has to go kind of beast mode and kind of really sort out these dark problems and just do what I can. But that's what I've been put here to do. Do you know what I mean? I haven't come here to be served. I've come here to serve others. So it's just kind of a little bit of a run of the mill kind of like time for me. But it's it is what it is.
Mate, it sounds like you firstly are doing some incredible work there, and massive hats off to you if I had a hat on. I suppose a great place to start would probably be just to introduce you a little bit, and no one can introduce you probably better than yourself. Just briefly around some of the work that you do and what's sort of got you from maybe what you've done in your previous life to the work that you do today.
Yeah, I mean, like when I look back, I mean, ever since I was 13 and a half, plastering has always been my trade. When I look back, I had to sacrifice a lot even when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? I grew up in Brighton, so whenever like the half term or the 6-week summer holidays used to come around, I was always kind of in some dingy dark basement doing damp proofing and plastering with my brother-in-law. My friends were catching a tan down on Brighton Beach, but come Friday when they're all nice and brown, lovely and tanned, I was always the one with like money in my pocket. So I knew what it was like to sacrifice, even time with my friends. I knew what it was like to have this insane work ethic, like what it needs, what needs to be done in order to accomplish something. And that goes in anything and everything, whether it's a business, whether it's a job, whether it's a loving relationship, do you know what I mean? Whether it's on a weight loss journey, you've got to understand, you've got to sacrifice, you've got to put in the time, you've got to put in the effort in order to get to where it is you want to get to. So I learned lessons very, very young. I mean, I used to get paid £150 and like £100 used to go straight to my mum because we were like a single parent family. Like my dad left me when I was young. So I knew what it was like to kind of pay tax, really. Like people were moaning about paying 20% tax. I was paying 66.6% tax like when I was like 14 years old. But those lessons have stuck with me. And that allowed me to kind of move from my hometown of Brighton to Essex, and then Essex to where I'm living now in Swansea, South Wales. So it allowed me to travel around, but wherever I've gone, I've always tried to do the best that I can and be the best that I can. But also, plastering kind of really took a back seat after, events, that really kind of shook my world, myself and my family's world back in 2012 is when my 19-year-old nephew was killed by a single punch. He was hit from behind, went over, hit his head and died of blunt force trauma, which is severe brain damage. And that changed, myself and my family. That has set me on the path to what it is that I'm doing now, taking adversity and turning it into victory, no matter what it is, whether it's psychological, mental, physical, spiritual, it's emotional, taking that adversity and turn it into victory, because we have literally got two choices of whether things make us or whether it breaks us. It's literally that black and white. Like there's no in between. And when I started doing what it is that I'm doing, when I decided to use kind of like my talent that I had, because I was given a challenge. I was given a challenge like from my nephew. Like when my nephew was killed, we learned stuff about him afterwards, which was incredible. Now, this young man very, very unselfishly, selflessly, at 16 years old, he kind of signed the Gift of Life organ donation register. He went on to save 5 people's lives within the first 48 hours. What couldn't be used of his was his heart, because it was too traumatized. That's why whenever I speak to people, I always put a blue heart, because it's the color of our favorite football team, and I'm always paying homage to him, to the only organ that couldn't have been used, right? But what could be used was his heart valves. His heart valves were put into storage. 7 months later, when Uncle was in the darkness, I was in the pit. we literally got news that one of his heart valves has saved the life of a 10-month-old baby girl. My beautiful curly-haired princess Tilly was 10 months old at that time. So I knew what it was like to be the dad of a 10-month-old baby girl, how much of a blessing and a privilege that was. And it was like my nephew was saying to me, Unc, listen, give me a good reason as to why you can't make something of yourself, and I'll listen to you all day long. But don't go giving me excuses, Unc, because that don't cut it. Why can't listen? I know you're down, but you're not out. I know you're broke, but you're not broken. Get up and let's go. And that's when I decided to use my God-given talent, which is like my words, to go out there and help people. We then got the news 5 months after that he saved the life of a 5-year-old boy with his other heart valve. I started doing my talks. And then about a year after, right, because I got feedback back off of people that heard my talks, and there was people that were saying, like, amazing things, like this talk has changed my life. This talk has made me see things in a different way. Thank you. You've given me hope. Like, you've given me this and that. But there was one that changed the game for me. It was from a 14-year-old boy, and at the end of his email that he sent me, it simply said, "Thank you so much for everything that you said today. You've changed my life, but you've also saved it, because tonight I was planning on taking my own life, but you stopped me today." And then all of a sudden it was like the light bulb moment went off. Connor Saunders saved people's lives with his organs. His uncle is now saving people's lives with his words. 2 different ways of doing it, but ultimately the same outcome. So I realized that this was helping people with their emotional and mental well-being. And then it took on extra significance when back in 2020, in the first big lockdown, that's when the youngest of my 2 older sisters took her own life during lockdown. Again, devastation in the family, but it's just kind of prompted me to help people more now with their mental health, to help people see their value, their worth, let them get their confidence, their self-esteem, because this is what life is doing at the moment. It's really crushing those things inside people's hearts and minds. They've got no self-esteem, no confidence. It's like they haven't got a purpose, and they feel like giving in. And I'm just going to do all I can to do for who I can, like what I can, to let them see that they have got a purpose. Because I would have loved 10 minutes in front of my sister to give the best talk ever, to let her know, like, just how much she was loved, like how important she was, how invaluable she was, like how much people respect her, and like just how much change she could have made, how much change she could have made. But I mean, I had no power over that, but yet I've got every power over who I can help from this moment on, and that's become my purpose, and that's become my mission.
Mate, that firstly, I can't even imagine what you've been through. That is possibly the 2 most heartbreaking things that I've certainly heard someone tell me that they've been through. So huge props for you for turning that from a personal huge tragedy into something that defines your purpose and underpins what you now do to help other people. Because lots of people could easily go down the path of alcohol, drugs, almost write their own life off, because actually what is the point in life if this is what life is? And yeah, I can't even imagine the strength that has taken to do that. Yeah, and you put it across so passionately that I was just sat there listening, thinking, wow, what an incredible man. Boys, I don't know about
I was loving
guys.
listening to that. Like, I could have just listened to that for forever. Really, really insightful. I'm looking forward to getting deeper and deeper and deeper as the podcast goes on, honestly.
Nice one. Nice. Listen, gents, and what this is, right? I kind of sum it up just as simply as I can. What this is old school resilience. This is old school mindset. And when I talk about going back to basics, I talk about going to learn like what our nans and our granddads can teach us, what our great nans and great granddads can teach us, what even our mums and dads can teach us, like the old school soldiers. Like we've got to realize that we live in a it's very, very challenging. It's like when I go into a comprehensive school, I will say to the youngsters, like, I wouldn't want to be a teenager in today's day and age for love nor money, because of the the heightened pressures that you face. It's like when I look back, I mean, I was bullied when I was young, but I knew that when I walked outside them school gates, that's it, that I would have the evening off, and like it wouldn't happen again until I got back in school the next day. But now it's 24/7. But yes, there's heightened pressures, But when I see, like, I literally see like so much, there is an abundance of help, abundance. Like you can listen to these kind of podcasts, like what you gents are doing. Like you can go onto any social media platform and join some kind of group where there's people that is help, you know, that is there with wisdom, with guidance, with help, with coaching, and you won't feel alone. Our nans and granddads didn't have that. Back in the day, listen, they had people that were killed. They had people that died. Like they had siblings that were killed. They had people that, like, they lost people. They went through heartbreak. They went through devastation. So they didn't have the help that's around. So they did all right. They did okay. And it's just that old school doggedness that's inside them that needs to be activated nowadays, because there is this instant gratification. There is this instant satisfaction. There is this instant want, instant reward, instant gain that so many people are under. And they think that so much is instant, because you can literally ring, you can ring a takeaway. 20 minutes later, the food's at your door. You can drive through a drive-through. 2 minutes later, it's in your lap. Like you don't even have to wait for a film anymore. Like you don't even have to wait for the next episode. Like back in the day, like if we really loved an episode or something, or there was a series that was on, like you would, if it was starting at 8 o'clock, you had to get your business done, and you're there at 7:55, ready to go. So that taught you discipline. It taught you structure to be there. Then the episode finished, and then all of a sudden you're thinking during the week, you start talking to your mates. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen there. Like it's left us on a cliffhanger. Like, what do you reckon's going to happen? And like you started talking about it, and you had to wait until the next week. So it taught us patience. Nowadays, you can just download a box set and just binge watch, and it's just like everything is kind of given to us, and we're under this instant influence, and it's damaging to a lot of people. And that's why I'm saying that in today's day and age, yes, there's a lot more severe, but also different pressures. But go back to the old school ways of doing stuff and dealing with stuff, the old school mentality, like the old school warriors and soldiers that our families are. And that's what I say to people, is just don't forget who you are and what you're capable of, because you come from this bloodline. You come from this line of warriors that have literally got the same DNA as you. So never ever doubt yourself.
Phenomenal words, like, to be fair, and like your story's absolutely, you know, it's heartbreaking, I can't lie, and you know, from what you've gone through and the fact that you've managed to turn it around, it's amazing. Now you're in a position to help others. I know I'm just reiterating what other people have seen here, but it is absolutely tremendous. I mean, was, like, not to sound grim or anything, but was there a time where you actually thought, maybe I can't do this? I know you've mentioned obviously your nephew, obviously when he's donated these organs after the fact, and that sort of, when you were having those dark days and obviously the half valves, and it sort of brought you back into the game. Was there any moments where you sort of doubted yourself and it sort of maybe got on top of you? And what was your outlet? Like you're saying, now we've got so many different outlets where you can go. What was your outlet, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, first of all, yeah, absolutely, I doubted myself. Everybody doubts their self. Listen, we're human beings. Like, no one's bulletproof, no one's bomb-proof, no one's exempt from, like, imposter syndrome that might enter our head. But it's just all about, listen, are you prepared to kind of do it anyway? Like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Like, feel the I'd be prepared to take the doubt and still step up to the plate and, like, do it anyway. It's just through gritted teeth, because even though, like, now I'm doing something that I truly love and passionate about, and kind of like what I was born to do, and like what I've got this talent for, I still have to do it through gritted teeth sometimes, because I'm human. So yeah, there were times, absolutely times where I doubted myself, but then I remembered. I remembered back to a promise that I made. And this is the thing, is the only promise that I can make to you is people will break their promises to you, right? So if you ask someone what a broken promise feels like there's loads of different ways to describe it, but every single one of them is negative. Like, no one has had a promise broken to them and yeah, that feels really good. Listen, a broken promise hurts, and depending on what it is will be the severity of the hurt. So what people have to realize is people will break their promises to you. You have to start making promises to yourself and literally start keeping them. That's when you'll see things start to change, because other people will break their promises to you, Don't go adding to that pile of broken promises by saying that you're going to say something. Now, there's 3 letters, right? 2 words that are unbelievably powerful. When my nephew was on his intensive care unit bed, and we're talking about the neck brace on, tubes coming out of his mouth, and his chest going up and down, but that's not him breathing. That's like the machine doing it for him. When they had done the brain activity tests on him and there was no response, and they said, that's it. There's nothing more that we can do for him. This is over. This is game over. I held his head, I kissed his forehead, I whispered into his ear, Connor, I am going to look after your family as best I can. I won't let them fall, and people will know your name. Wherever I go, I say the name Connor Charles Edward Saunders. I'm always telling people about this boy, so people will know his name. Promise kept. But whenever I get up and do something, whenever I get up and travel to these different places and inspire people, my family are watching. My family are watching me. I made a promise to Connor that I wouldn't let them fall. So when they see their son, their baby brother, their uncle or their great uncle kind of get up and do this stuff, then I'm keeping a promise to Connor. So as no matter how hard it is, and whenever I've had the doubt, that has pushed me forward to keep on going, to keep on doing this thing, because I'm not bulletproof. Like I'm not bomb-proof and exempt from life's tests and trials. If anything, when you go out there and you want to turn a negative into a positive and you want to go out there really helping people, it's like life hits you even more. It tests you even more. So it was the promise. It was the promise that kind of kept me going, even when I felt like I couldn't in the early days. But then as time went on, I literally thought to myself, listen, I now realize how strong I am. I now realize what I'm capable of. And that's what people have got to do, is they've got to prove it to themselves first. And then that's when things, the journey becomes a little bit easier. But that is, remember where you come from, make yourself a promise and prove to yourself what you're capable of. And it will literally pull you through like the deepest trenches,
I couldn't agree with that anymore. One thing you just touched upon there, and it's quite an interesting point, actually. So since starting this podcast, I've had a number of people reach out to me around their own struggles, and not to come on the podcast, I think just even to talk to someone. And that's something that I didn't realize was going to affect me as much as it has. Just having people who literally don't know me from Adam messaging me on various social media accounts saying, hi Lewis, like I've had people who've just been diagnosed with cancer, people whose son is potentially looking to kill themselves, people who survived suicide and they want to share their story, but not for any other reason than just to tell me. They don't want to tell the world, they want to tell me and give me that confidence that what we're doing is the right thing to potentially be doing. And one point I wanted to sort of ask you around that, how do you manage your own sort of mental health and the things that people tell you? How do you almost hear that, absorb it without it getting you down? Because I've found that whilst I've really enjoyed people reaching out to me, it's something that I could just be going about my day in moods up here, I'm feeling good, and then someone tells me that, and straight away I feel, oh shit, like it puts me in that probably heightened emotion, and I'm probably not prepared for that yet. So my question would be, how do you cope with that, and what do you do to try and keep yourself in that sort of positive zone?
Well, what I've done to cope with that is allowed myself to feel. There are a lot of people panicking at the moment, where they're saying, "Oh, I'm getting overwhelmed because I feel sad. I'm getting overwhelmed because I feel scared." Like, and they're kind of panicking. And then you look at the reasons as to why they're overwhelmed and scared, and you're thinking, that's normal. It's normal. You can't go getting overwhelmed about feeling grief and devastation and heartbreak if you've just lost a loved one. Listen, that's normal. And this is worrying, because it's as if people think that it's alien and you shouldn't be feeling it. So I've allowed myself to feel for about the last 15 years. Like, I've never turned to alcohol or drugs to cope with anything. I've never gone on like a rampage of antisocial behavior. Like I've never ever used any of that as justification. Like, although your pain is understandable, it doesn't make your behavior acceptable. So I as hard as it is, like I kind of remember my morals, like I remember where I come from, but it's what I've allowed myself to feel and the environments that I've purposely put myself in. Now, one of the environments that I purposely put myself in to challenge myself, and this is the thing, a lot of people don't like a challenge. They don't like a challenge. And what you have to do is you take the word challenge and you take out the 3 middle letters, the double L and the E, and you're left with the word change. It's not until you are challenged and you face a challenge and you overcome a challenge that you will change things in your life, you yourself, your situation, your circumstances, everything around you, right? There, it's only when a challenge comes along that it's an opportunity to change. But a lot of people, they just don't like being challenged anymore. That's it, right? They do. They want it easy. They want it instant. They want it now. But an environment that I put myself in on purpose was one that literally laid the foundations for me. Now, when my nephew was killed, like myself and my family, right, there was 3 different states in which he was in. Now, myself and my family saw him in his first state, which was on the intensive care unit bed, the tubes, the neck brace, and us having to say goodbye. Myself and my family, we saw him in the last state of rest, which was in the coffin, in the chapel of rest, before we was going to say our final goodbyes to him. And it was only me that saw him in the middle. I chose to go and visit him in the mortuary, where you can take a body out for 1 hour at a time, because that's when the body's temperature starts to rise and the body will start to decompose. Now, when I walked in there, because of the nature of the beast.
Oh, it looks like we have maybe lost Jamie slightly there, which is absolutely fine. These things can completely happen when doing a online podcast. Have we got Jamie back?
Yeah, am I in?
You're in, mate.
Yeah,
you're in.
There we go. Sorry about that. Sorry about the technical glitch. But yeah, what I was saying is, like, the third environment is the one that really laid the foundations for me, is when I went into the mortuary, where you can sit with a body or stay with a body for 1 hour, because after that, the body's temperature starts to rise and it starts to decompose. And I said, like, the nature of the beast, of what he went through, the conditions in which led to his death, which led to the post-mortem that he had to have, which was the highest spec post-mortem. So when I literally walked into that room, I've literally seen my nephew, not just his body, like not just his body like laying there. I saw him butchered, because he had to have, like he's like me. He's like got this really thick mane of hair, right? So it was only me and him, and you know, I'm very proud of that at like 45 years old. You know what I mean? That I've still got a mane of hair like that. But it's like Connor had that as well. But when you see that he had to have it 3/4 shaved, because he had to be cut from his shoulder up and over his head to his other shoulder, for his head to be pulled apart, for the top of his skull to be cut off, and his brain to be taken out, to be analyzed, to determine the actual cause of death. And you're there and you're seeing someone that you love with these big kind of like sewing marks. Like if you can imagine, you know, like baseballs, baseballs with like the cross stitches on them, like the really thick stitches. Like he had been cut open and he'd been stitched back up, and he was literally cut on both arms as well. So when I saw that, I knew at that moment there's nothing that can take me down. I've literally put myself in that information, because he was 6'3", he was big, strong, he was athletic, and he was fit, played for a semi-professional football side. But you know what? He still didn't like the dark at that age. So if Unc had to go in and pull him out of the dark for 1 hour a day, then that's what I was going to do. Listen, I didn't want to do it, but that's what we have to do. We have to do things we don't want to do in order to accomplish the things we want to accomplish. So I used to pull him out of the dark for 1 hour. And when I used to sit with him, I used to look at it like, talk to him. But ice cold. The things I saw, I wouldn't want to wish upon my worst nightmare, my worst enemy. And it's the stuff that I've seen in nightmares. But it's proof that I can get through anything. But it's because I challenged myself in order to make that change in myself, to be able to kind of be well equipped to deal with what comes my way. Now, I'm not saying that I'm bulletproof and not I'm bomb-proof, but things hit me and it knocks me back, but it doesn't knock me over and it doesn't knock me out, because of the challenges that I've been through, because of what I've challenged myself and how I've invested in myself. And even on this journey, like in mental health and like well-being and emotional well-being, people still want that instant change. They want that instant change, regardless of what age they are. It doesn't have to be kids that just be influenced by like instant gratification and instant satisfaction. There's a hell of a lot of adults out there as well that like suffer from that. I mean, like there are fully grown men and women that want to like kick a phone or kick a tablet through a window because it buffers for 10 seconds. Do you know what I mean? They get angry, right? They want to drop kick it through a window. So there's no patience. So when I see that people do want instant results, and I can see that they don't want to be challenged and they have no interest in investing in themselves, then there's the problem. So people need to look at kind of priorities as well. It's like people won't think twice about spending $4,000 on an all-inclusive kind of holiday 2 weeks away. Yeah, it's nice when you're away. It's lovely. Like you rest, you recharge, you recoup. But guess what? Every problem that you had, every insecurity that you had will be waiting for you as soon as the plane touches down and touches the tarmac at Heathrow, Gatwick, Liverpool, Edinburgh Airport, whatever. It's waiting for you there. And all of a sudden, like you're suffering from holiday blues as well. Within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you're posting pictures saying, oh, I wish I was back there. Take me back, take me back. Now, people will spend $4,000 on that without blinking. But they've got no interest in spending $2,000 on themselves, investing in themselves with coaches, with help, with people that can support them, that can teach them these lifestyle skills, these in how to get a more resilient mindset. So there is this problem in the world that what you're dealing with is a real mixed bag. People with unbelievable severe trauma. There are people that want instant gratification, like instant results. There are people that are not willing to change. There are people that are not willing to be challenged. There are people that are not willing to invest. You've got to take stuff on a case-by-case basis. But you've got to understand that not everything is a one cap fits all. That's all I know is I've allowed myself to feel. I put myself in different environments to be challenged, prove to myself what I'm about. And now, because I've seen hell, I've seen it, I saw it on a mortuary slab, there's nothing that I can see, nothing that I can experience that will literally take me down. Yes, it'll hurt me, it will knock me back, but it won't knock me down and it won't knock me up.
Yeah,
Brilliant, mate. Really good.
I can't imagine having been through that, and it's really interesting that you put yourself in that situation with the forethought of, okay, this is as low as my life's going to get, and I can now only build on top of that and build strength from that and build character from that. I suppose, question to the wider group of the pod: have you guys had situations in your life where you've potentially been in situations where you've struggled, and how have you then managed to get yourselves out of it? Ethan, and I know we've discussed previously around you struggling with your weight, and there's been times where, especially during the pandemic, where you were feeling low. What has been your process to get from the state that you were in previously to where you are today?
Yeah, so a really sort of emotional story there, and it's something I'm still processing. It sort of knocked me back a bit, obviously, from what.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so but no, it's something that I've struggled a lot with during the pandemic. You know, for me personally, weight's always been an issue. I've always been known as sort of the chubby, the bubbly fat lad. You know, and working on that through the pandemic. Obviously, when you're alone, it's you're sort of surrounded by the four walls. You know, I didn't want to work from home, so I was always trying to go in the building, be around people. You know, be in that environment. You know, and just taking it back, I'm still sort of horrified by that story. I mean, it takes me back to a bad time in my life of my grandfather passing last year, and you know, I've never been in that environment before, and I went in the mortuary myself, and you know, he wasn't in a similar situation. Obviously, I can't even compare it, but he just didn't look like himself. So, and that image haunts me to the day myself. So it's a really personal subject, and it's something that, it's a really, really difficult subject. But no, looking ahead, when I was in my daughter's time, I think I was looking to have friends that pulled me out of it. Lewis loves it when I mentioned my pals Ryan and Rob. You know, they were two people that really sort of pulled me out of the depths, and they were able to identify when I was in a situation where I wasn't lucky enough to have the strength. You know, it's Jamie here. I haven't got the strength to get myself out of that hole, and I don't have the resilience. You know, so hearing the your side of things is just phenomenal, because you've been kicked, you've been knocked to the floor, and you've picked yourself up over and over again. You know, just hats off to you. As Lewis said, if I had one, I'll take it off to you there. You know,
I thought you said hairs off to him, but
no, that's just Lewis. That's just Lewis.
And Job,
Yeah, what
who's
about
not
you,
on camera.
Lewis? And Job. What about you, Lewis?
Firstly, I don't think I've ever been in a situation like Jamie. I have to be honest. Just like you, Ethan, that's kind of knocked me a little bit around how you take yourself from that sort of really dark place to channeling that hurt and pain into strength and character building and experience to really make a difference, not just in your own life but other people's lives, to have that impact, because actually then it's all worth it if something good comes out of it. It's something that I'm very focused on in my own life. We all know I've fucked up multiple times in my life.
We all have, Lou. We all have.
Yeah, just like we all have. And one thing that I always try to give myself is the chance to, maybe I can't change it, but I can make the rest of my life more positive than the shit that I've done, or the stupid things that I've wasted, or whatever that might be. And hearing you talk about your story there, Jamie, it makes me feel that I can do even more. And that's,
You can.
I'm not here. Yeah, I'm not here on this podcast trying to promote the podcast too much, but this for us and for me is exactly that. I've been in situations in my own life where I felt really shit. I felt low. I felt suicidal. I felt like life's too much for me and I can't do any more, and all those sorts of things. And that's me as someone who I think is fairly resilient. Like I would never say I'm not a resilient person. I would say I'm a positive person. I would say I'm motivated and all those sorts of things. And whilst we aren't doing the same sort of work, the similarities in what we're doing and what you're doing, Jamie, it's about channeling that hurt, that pain, that experience to make a difference in other people's lives. And it's that selfless idea of, it's not, even though we're getting a lot from it, and I'm sure you get a lot from your talks, of by talking positively and being inspirational, or trying to be inspirational, trying to show people that this is the way you can change your life. You get stuff from that. But actually, what you really get from it is seeing other people see that that's a possibility, and seeing other people realizing, actually, I don't have to sit in this mental state. I can do more. I can be more. I can better my own life. This little mental gap hole situation that I'm in, that doesn't have to be me. And my past, my situations, the things that have affected me, that doesn't have to be me. And I choose to be a better person. I choose to have a better life, and I choose to make my future more positive and more the life I wanted it to be versus what I've already had. So yeah, that's absolutely where we're at. I suppose there's one more person who briefly touched on it before. Dean, you, in our pre-pod chat, you mentioned that grief had been a part of your life, and it was something you were interested to explore. So absolutely putting you on the spot here to try and understand what's happened in your life. And I know this is a really emotional one, and I'm feeling myself go a little bit, hence passing the baton on a little bit. The floor is yours.
I kind of get emotional myself, because I don't really talk.
You're right. We can move on, mate. If
go on, Brad. You can do it.
No, I want to talk about it. But just like my nana was the most important person ever in my life, and she passed away about 8 years ago, and I never talk about it, because it just brings it back, and I really struggle with it. So it's easier for me just to put it to the back and not think about it. So 8 years ago, I've always been a nana and granddad's boy, like as all grandchildren are in most cases. And my granddad passed away probably, what would that be, like, my mum will kill us, but probably about 11 years ago. And when that happened, my mum asked me if I wanted to move in with my grandma just to sort of like look after her and be with her. And I did that, and we lived together for a long time, just me and her. She'll hate this, but probably the reason I got as fat as I did, we used to just order takeaways together and just sit and watch movies and all the rest of it. And I always think about it because there was this one night, and I used to be really into my gaming. And my nana had come in and said, "Do you want to watch a film?" And I was like, "Oh, I will watch a film, but I'm in the middle of this game. Can you let us finish?" And then you know what it's like when you're playing games one after another and another and another. And then she come into the bedroom. She goes, "Dean, I'm just gonna go to sleep instead, okay?" And I was like, "All right, well, I'll see you in the morning. Love you." And she went to the toilet and she shouted. A couple of minutes later, "Dean, can you come here?" And I come over and she goes, I don't feel very well." And she was sitting on the toilet at the time, and she just sort of slumped forward. And obviously I was panic setting, just didn't know what to do. So I rang 999. They told us, you have to pull her off the toilet, give her CPR. And I was, giving her CPR the best that I could. And it felt like a lifetime before they could get there. It was like sort of 20 minutes. And then they finally come, and I thought, this is brilliant. They're here now. They'll revive her. At least if she dies, I'll have a chance to say goodbye, and everything else that you want to say to people before you have a chance to, before you have the chance to do it. And then after about 20 minutes of them working on it, they just said, "No, they can't help us." So, it was a hard time for me. I wish I could say that I didn't turn to drugs and alcohol. It was something that helped me get through it. For the worst though, I lost my license for drink driving. I rolled my car into a field, just so many different things. But it was such a hard and emotional time for me that even now, like I say, it's easier for me just to not talk about it, because otherwise I just know I get upset straight away. But yeah, it was something that I really struggled with. And another one as well that I struggle with is like animals. I'm a massive animal person, and I know obviously some people who don't have animals might not understand, but the grief for losing me dog was the same. It was mine and me nana's dog. We got him together, and probably my nana passed away, and he lived another year after that, but he died really young. But it was sort of my mom, she's very spiritual, and she believes that he was there for when I needed him the most. He needed us for that 1 year, because as much as I went off the rails with the drugs and the alcohol, I never went too bad because I always had the dog, So he was always in my forefront of my mind, and I was always, going to see him. I wasn't leaving him in the house for, hours and hours on end. So he kept us sort of sane while I needed him. And then when he passed away, I sort of thought myself, I've got nothing left to live for. I had a lot of inheritance, but I was just blowing through that, obviously with going out on the drink and all the other stuff. And I decided to go traveling in Australia. And it was probably that saved my life, because I'll be honest, originally what I was saying is, as soon as my inheritance is gone, I'm just going to kill myself, because I've got nothing to live for anymore. And I said that to my mum, and she obviously was very upset. But going to Australia changed my life. Going traveling, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of money, and from my inheritance to be able to do that. And understand not a lot of people could do it, but it was something that massively helped me, and it turned my life completely around. I've become a work-focused and oriented person. I met me now wife, who's Japanese. She come back over with Australia. So, it's one of them things where, I regret I had the inheritance there where I could have, built, if I knew now what I knew then, I'd build that into a good business, buying a house and stuff like that. But I wouldn't change anything, because it's got us to where I am now with my wife, so over the moon. But yeah, that was my sort of story with grief. A bit of a difficult time for us.
And I also think, Dean, that if you had known then what you know now, and you had put it into a business and done all this stuff that you think would have been better, there's no chance you would have gone to Australia and met your wife.
Yeah,
100%. There's no chance. And it's the classic Gwyneth Paltrow sliding doors situation. You'll see a life where you think, oh, it's the better one. It's the better one. It looks like, you know, you've got it sussed and everything about it is better. But she ended up dying in a car crash in the other life, where she went through hurt and she went through struggle. She actually finally got to a place where she was destined to be with that person, where she was in the lift together. So yeah, listen, we can all kind of wish like what we had done, but that one change back in the past would have a significant impact and change in life as we know it right now. And better, just because something is good to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you. Like you could have put that into a business and it boomed, and you're flooded with finances, you're flooded with riches, and you could have turned into somebody that you don't want to be, and you could have splashed out on all this lovely stuff, and all of a sudden, like in a top of the range Ferrari, like you lose control and you wrap it around a tree, like, and then that's you're gone. You don't know how life is how it should be right now. You're right where you are right now, and that blessing that you're going to be marrying in what is it, 6 days time? It's man, listen, that's how it's kind of meant to be. But can I give you a little bit of like reassurance? Do you know what happened with your nan, right? So what happened with your nan? She would have known in her heart of hearts that was most probably her final moments, right? Now I know that you was on the other side looking in, and you was hoping that she was going to be revived, right, and that she was going to be brought back, and you would be able to say stuff. First and foremost, you said the most important thing. One of the last things you said to her was, "See you in the morning. I love you." That's it. Game over. See, this is what we do in the aftermath of grief, right? We are our own worst enemies. And we will literally put pressure on ourselves, and we feel guilty that we haven't done this, that we haven't done that. And trust me, like if you had kissed and cuddled your loved one for 23 and a half hours out of 24, if they get killed, if they die, if they pass, you will regret not doing it for 24 hours a day. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's never enough. But you said the most important thing to your nan at the end. In her heart of hearts, she would have known that was her final moment. There is no other person that she would have wanted to have been there in her final moment than you, because you talk about this connection, you talk about this relationship that you have with your nan. She would have loved you unconditionally, and there is no one else that she would have wanted there at that moment, because it is literally, we have choices in life. We make the choice of whether we turn something that's bad into good, but there are some things we just do not have a choice over. And she didn't have a choice of whether she lived or whether she passed away. She had to go. It was her time, and there was no one else that she would have wanted to have been there. So when you look at the thing as a whole, you have to look for those little diamonds in amongst the devastation, right? And I use this analogy that if there was a jewelry shop, right, and there was a big crane with a wrecking ball next to it, and it smashed it, right, there's no one inside, but it's a fully stocked jewelry shop. If that wrecking ball took it to pieces, and it was just a massive pile of rubble, like debris, would you go looking through that debris for the diamonds? Absolutely you would, because those things, 50 grand, 100 grand a piece, you would be tearing that thing to shreds. And the diamonds are so small, but they're so valuable. So in amongst this devastation that you feel, in amongst this debris, you have to look for the diamonds, like the small crumbs of comfort. Now, your nan passed after living a long life. She passed on, I know there's no ideal way to go, but right, and I don't mean to sound morbid, but if you had to deal with your nan passing, and then you had to wait another 6 months to go and sit in a courtroom and look into the eyes of the person that was literally at fault and that was guilty of taking her life, how much worse would that situation have been? Because that's something that's got myself and my family through, because we had to go into a court of law and look at my nephew's killer, right? But also the friends that we've made in amongst this journey is they will tell us stories. They will tell us stories of how their child was killed through murder or manslaughter. Connor didn't see the punch coming. It was instant. He wouldn't have felt pain. And you know what? We're thankful for that, because we speak to other people whose children had been lured to a house by their ex-boyfriend and tortured for 2 hours before being killed in a most horrendous and painful way. So I know it sounds morbid, but it's the way in which we get gratitude, and that we find this little tiny little diamond of comfort. And then you've got to ask yourself this question. I ask people this question all the time, that would you prefer to have less pain now, but not as much love for your loved one when they were here? Or would you have had all the love and the memories and the joy that you had with them when they were here, but experience more pain now? And the answer is always the same. That yes, I would have the love, the memories, the joy that I had, and give me the pain now. So you have to understand, people have to understand that you're getting the lesser of two evils, but it's the choice in which you would make. But this is the debt that must be paid. The love that we had, like, listen, the pain in which we have for our loved ones being taken away is at the other end of the spectrum of the love, the joy that we had, have, and will forever have for them. So it's the debt that must be paid. Pay that debt gladly. Pay that bet proudly. Pay that debt proudly, because we're paying it for them. And now that's what pushes us on, because we all of a sudden have this responsibility that we've got to live life for them, not just for ourselves, but out of honor for them and out of respect for them. And we've got to live. And that's why people say to me, James, why is it you speak with so much power and so much authority? Because, listen, I speak for 3 people. I speak for myself, my nephew, and my sister. There's 2 people that haven't got a voice anymore. They're on my back. And I've literally got to bring the fire, like, wherever I am. Although I may be heartbroken, I may be hurt, I'm doing it for them. And I'm paying them the best honor that I can. And that's what I felt that moment when I got that email from that little boy, 14 years old, saying that your words saved me. I thought all of a sudden that that's the best honor and respect that I can pay my nephew, because we were both all of a sudden doing the same thing. So that's why now, listen, you turning your life around and you being the person that you are now, and you're going to walk down that aisle like your nan, man, like the pride that she would have felt, like the happiness, the joy. You're doing what she would want. And this is what we have to do, is emotionally detach from ourselves and say, we have to do what they would have wanted, not what we would have wanted, because what we want to do is curl up underneath a duvet and just not face the day. And they would say, listen, don't you dare not laugh anymore. Don't you dare not go on holidays anymore. Don't you dare not do the things that I used to love doing, because that's disrespect to me. You've got to do what I love doing. You've got to laugh again. You've got to experience life. And that's what I would want for you. So that's a big thing for me, is that you have to do what they want to do. It's just what we want. It's just what we want is often so different to what they would have wanted.
Yeah. That was really nice words, mate. And definitely was a hard time in my life, but you're definitely right. You've got to, live for them as well, and make them proud. And it's something that I really feel like I've worked on. Like I say, I don't drink as much. I haven't done drugs in a long, long time as well. So yeah, really feel like good words, mate. Thank you very much.
Blessings.
Dino, that was brave as out, mate. I'm sorry, Lou. I just gotta say, Dean, that was brave as anything, mate. Like I mentioned before, I lost my granddad last year, September. No way could I talk about it and open up the way you have, mate. So I just want to say, take my hat off to you, mate. And Jamie, appreciate those words as well from you. You know what I mean? So well in Dino. Sorry,
I absolutely echo that, Dina. I think this is episode 7, and you're the first one to probably make everyone well up. So that is what a story, and I really appreciate you being so honest, because I didn't know that. And as someone who I'd like to say we're close friends, I didn't know that, and I'm sorry that I didn't know that, because I like to think as your friend I should have known that, because you're someone I care about as a mate, and I think that just really highlights for me the importance of doing what we're doing, because we need friends groups, men in general, to actually start having the conversation beyond, "Hi mate, you all right? Yeah, are you? Yeah, I'm fine, thanks." Or, "Yeah, I'm all right." Or, "Nah, I'm not too bad, but yeah, right, whatever." And then that's as far as the conversation ever really goes. It's that next question of, "Yeah, but are you actually all right?" is everything okay? Do you want to chat about anything? Let's go for a walk. Versus that destructive behavior of let's just go for a pint and just get pissed, and next day we forget all about it.
Yeah.
But there's the lessons that I've learned there, gentlemen, is that Lewis, like you had no right to know that. You're not a mind reader. So it's not a case of like being sorry that you didn't know that. Like Dean would have played his cards close to his chest. So no one knows what's going on unless they're told. Do you know what I mean? Like no one's a mind reader. But what Dino has done there, he's literally proved to everyone and proved to himself that he can do it. That would have been uncomfortable right there. But he literally on the spot opened up and he's literally talked about it, which you know you got to understand it. It may inspire the other boys to do the same. But at that moment when it was uncomfortable, he literally opened up and done something that didn't feel good. But we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable nowadays. And that's what will get us to the next level. And that there is a lesson in itself. Dean has just proved to himself, like the point that I was saying, that you've got to prove to yourself. At first, you would have said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yes, you can. You can, because guess what? You've got a functioning mind. You've got a mouth that works. You can speak. You're just choosing not to. And there's another choice. You can get it out. It's just you don't want to at this particular time. You're choosing not to. And that's what I mean is like, there's nothing special about me. Like I haven't got an S on my chest. I haven't got a cape, and I certainly don't wear my pants outside my tights. Like I'm no superhero. Everybody has got this capability. It's just activating the resilient mindset to do so. And you have got it in you. It's just at the moment you're choosing not to. And that's why we need inspirations like Dean of what he's just done there to inspire other people to do the same. But we do not know unless we do not hear the words. We're not mind readers. Yes, we can push as much as we can. And I'm really pleased that Lewis brought that up, because we don't just leave it there. Oh, how are you, mate? Yeah, I'm not too bad. Oh, good. No. Whoa. Really, are you okay? Like, listen, let's get serious now, because I know that life can get hard sometimes. Are you really okay? What's going on? What's gone on in your week? Like, is there anything you want to tell me? Yeah, we can push, and we can keep pushing and keep pushing. But unless that person speaks those words, we will not know. I mean, what are we going to do? Like, literally get them in a headlock and kind of wrestle them to the floor and tell me. Like, we need people to speak up. Absolutely. And who isn't doing it is only choosing to do so for now. And I understand that it's uncomfortable and you have to build yourself up, but just know deep down that you are capable of it. And I know for certain that when I speak the name Connor Saunders, or when I speak the name Jane Elizabeth Denyer, like my sister, I know that as painful as it is kind of saying their name, it makes me smile now, because I know that I'm paying them the greatest compliment. Speaking about them as if they're still with us and we're still carrying them is one of the biggest compliments that you can pay them. Don't think you can't do it. You have got it in you to speak about them and to speak those words. And you'll never know who you're going to inspire along the way, exactly like what Dino's just done.
Yeah, I think that is just the truth that we just don't talk about. And I think it's a really great point. Slater, I have just seen a message in the chat very quickly that your battery's going to die and no plug.
Yeah.
Before we move where you're probably going to leave us, what's your thoughts on all of this? You've been relatively quiet. Which isn't like
I forgot you was here, to be fair.
Absolutely is like me. I like listening to people and find out a little bit more about them. And I think when we're talking about such deep topics, you know, my kind of experiences aren't necessarily as traumatic as maybe, you know, Dino's or Jamie's or Ethan's. You know, I've not really experienced a death close to me, but something I can resonate with Jamie is kind of finding that meaning in life. Throughout youth, I kind of wandered through not knowing what I needed to do, what I was interested in. Grew up with a mother who was borderline OCD, so everything had to be perfect. And I picked up those kind of tendencies, and they stuck with me going into sixth form. A relatively gifted child with high grades, kind of siphoned down into the university route. Not something I necessarily wanted to do. absolutely miserable at university. Each year goes by. Why am I doing this? I hate my life. I would much rather be a PT or strength and conditioning coach, working with people in an environment where it's social, where we have communication and you're making someone's life better. And I didn't feel like I was getting that from biomedical sciences at uni, even though you do kind of have a degree of that. But for me, it was the fear of stepping out of that comfort zone, as Jamie says, and almost suffering through kind of self-doubt for a long period of time. Probably took me nigh on a decade to finally take those steps. And even when I did, at the time I was in a comfortable job in the NHS, and I thought to myself, I can't go on through life being unhappy with the choices I make on a daily basis, turning up to a job that I don't fully love and I don't fully involve myself with. I have to take that leap of faith and trust in myself and have that self-confidence. So every day for me is kind of a struggle on a different level, kind of self-doubt, learning new things. And I think what I've realized over the last year as well, it's gone by so quickly, and that time is such an important resource for us that we just take for granted so much. And then that instant gratification comes in as well from that. So for me, it's a really tough one stepping out of that comfort zone. But now that I haven't, I'm so glad I have. I'm still in a struggle, you know. I'm not where I want to be long term, but I have to trust in the process and trust that if I do things right and I do things the way that I know I can, and have the confidence in myself. And as Jamie says, prove it to myself first, and then prove it to the people around me, prove it to the clients, prove it to the people in the gym, prove it to other strength and conditioning coaches, prove it to elite athletes. You know, that's the long-term goal, but I know that's going to take time. And that's something that I've had to sit with inside of me and say, that's fine. Now let's go and do the work. Let's action what has to be actioned. I think a lot of the time inaction kind of freezes us and we're not able to take the steps that we need. We don't like change as a species, full stop. We're comfortable in the environment we're used to. I see that with my clients. I see that with myself. Everyone is relatively similar because change is hard because we're so familiar with so many things. If you think from growing up in your youth, how many things are implemented that you don't even realize that you pick up on, that the habits that you develop, they're habits of 20, 30 years we're talking about. To unravel them and undo them takes so much effort, so much work, and it's the unknown on the other side, how it's going to be. So people get scared of that. And I think it's something that as we go along, you know, for me, I'm so happy I've took that first step. It's a long journey, but I think encouraging others to do that.
I think that could be Slater's camera, and Slater's laptop actually died in the key moment.
I was just getting.
Yeah, I think he was finally getting to the point there, which was something that I think we're all waiting for, which was, yeah, it's great having Slater on the podcast because he offers such a different perspective to a lot of us. He's gone through a lot of his life growing up to be a scientist, became a scientist, and then decided, whoa, this actually doesn't make me happy. I want to follow the thing that I'm super passionate about and make a real difference to people's actual lives. And here he is to finish his point, I think. It looks like he might be on his phone.
I'm on my phone, but not playing out of the headphones, unfortunately. So I'm just going to have. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
all good.
Right. Well, I'm off the headphones. I'm off the mic. So if there's any change in audio quality, that's my fault for not charging. Well, not having a plug in the office. So yeah, what I was saying is kind of taking those first steps, and encouraging other people to do the same is my goal in my daily job, and you get to feel a sense of purpose with that. Not quite in the same way as Jamie's, you know, changing people's lives with the kind of people he deals with, but on a smaller scale, certainly something that I feel so happy in being able to do, despite those kind of battles early on in my life. Certainly struggled with my mental health because of it, and kind of step back from things and reassess and say, what's important here?
well, I have a loving family around me. I've got a mum who adores me, and I still live with at the age of 28, as much as that's not
Living the dream.
ideal.
Living the
But
dream.
yeah, and just a part of me is like, that's not how I wanted it to be, but I have to just accept it for what it is and take the support that my family offer me on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. My grandparents are always there for me, so showing a bit of gratitude for that as well is something that's really helped me understand how lucky I actually am. So definitely a long process getting there, but I'm glad I've done it. And I certainly resonate with you, Jamie, and on the work that you do. It's inspiring to me to see how much of an impact you can have on people's lives, and the way that you speak with such passion, and you understand that it's not a one size fits all approach, and everyone needs their own kind of nurturing in their own set of ways. Makes me think about how I offer my services, and do the same. It's not a one size approach, and one size doesn't fit all, and it's just about adapting to those challenges in front of us and overcoming them.
That's right, and everybody brings their own flavour to different things, and it's like, when people say, "Oh, look, I haven't gone through the same as Jamie," like, I mean, listen, don't discredit yourself, or kind of compare and think, well, it's not as bad as Jamie, so it's not as it's not as impacting as what I'm doing. Listen, there are people that you boys will reach with what you do that I can't, that people won't resonate with me for whatever reason, or they're on a different kind of journey, and only you will be able to help them with your message. So yeah, it's only a case of, you can take something from me and apply it into your own working environment, or into your own development journey, or your own self-improvement, and use it or tweak it and kind of change it up in which way kind of suits you. And so everybody has a part to play. Everybody has the same worth. Just because someone has gone through, something that you would kind of look at as like, so that, really, really horrendous, and someone hasn't experienced that, it doesn't take away from the value in which they have in what it is that they do, But I must say, just very, very quickly off topic, Lewis said that you went into being a scientist, and then that didn't kind of please you. But by the way, or from what I can see here, is your new job a vicar?
I was thinking that, to be fair. I was thinking that. Get it, Jamie.
Many talents.
Are you a man of the cloth now?
Yeah.
Science just weren't cutting it, so I went straight on the other side to religion.
Switch around.
First comes science, then God.
Yeah, quite a lot of scientists are religious, despite common perception.
Yeah. Don't really know what to say to that, Slater, to be fair. I don't know whether to rip you or not. Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, I mean, Slater, it's just my partner, to be fair, isn't it?
Slater, is your phone not going to die,
mate? Sorry, Ethan?
Is your phone not going to die?
It's on 35%, so you'll be rid of it soon enough.
Yeah, brilliant.
I mean, why have they not got a plug in the office, man? That's my question.
Why does the light keep going off every 2 minutes?
Because it's on a sensor as well. I've had a mate tonight. I thought this setup would have worked perfectly out the house in a room where I can kind of, talk normally, but it's not quite went entirely to plan. So maybe Esther's is the next option.
Yeah.
Basically, Jamie, Esther is Slater's 86-year-old girlfriend.
Right, okay. Listen, whatever tickles your pickle, my man. I mean, listen, we're not here to judge.
Exactly.
Yeah, God, that is it is funny that the Esther crack, I have to be honest. So Jamie, just as we sort of head into this sort of last section of the pod, the question that we kind of ask a lot of guests would be, if someone is struggling out there today, they're struggling with their mental health, they're struggling with their purpose, what would be your kind of advice for someone in terms of what they can do to overcome the challenges that they may be facing?
First off, I think is the simple, the basic, and it's what we touched upon, is literally let someone know what's going on. Like, you've got to acknowledge the battle in which you're facing. You've got to kind of admit that you're in a war, you know, be it emotionally, mentally, whatever, that you admit it and acknowledge it. And then all of a sudden, like, you've got to like tell someone, so people know that there is, you know, that there is quite a bit of help out there and support there. There's amazing people out there doing amazing things. And then it then becomes an inner battle. It then becomes an inner battle with yourself. You know, if there's people that are around you giving advice, like, you could literally sit to like, someone could work with me and I could literally talk to them and help them and coach them 23.5 hours out of the 24. And if they're not making choices themselves, or if they're not taking it in, or if they're not willing to kind of put in this effort that so many people are scared of, then of course things aren't going to change. Because, like, Einstein said that it's literally the definition of insanity, by doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results. And if you're not prepared to change and you're doing things as you've always done them but expecting to get out of, you know, the darkness, then it's just not going to happen. So you have to then take it inward, and you have to know what it is that you are capable of. Because at that moment, what we do is we'll face the giant that's in front of us, and we'll focus on the giant that's in front of us, and we think to ourselves, this is it. This giant's going to take me down. This giant's going to slay me, right? But what we have to, like, realize is remember about all the giants that we've slayed in the past. At that moment, you have literally overcome and conquered 100% of your worst days, and you're still here. So a lot of people will forget what they've already been through. So there's a lot of personal work that you can do. There's a lot of inward work that you literally can do if you're the only person in that room, that you remember what it is that you've been through. You remember the bloodline that you've come from, right? You have that attitude of gratitude, that you are grateful that these people have been your family, and they went through hard times and they got through it. So it shows you that you've not got an excuse not to get through it yourself. That you then look at what people are telling you. You literally push yourself to get things done. You would, whether it's literally throwing the duvet off of you and literally putting your feet on the floor and focus and literally functioning during that day, then that is you succeeding. But at that moment when you're lying in bed, you're thinking, there's no way that I can get up. There's no way that I can get up. But your arms work, your legs work, your mind works, your mouth works. You can function, you can do it, you're just choosing not to. So it becomes a real inward battle. And then it's a case of taking it outward again, and listen to the people that are helping you. Listen to the stuff that they're saying. Listen to the advice in which they're giving you. Like, follow the courses in which, you know the process in which they're giving you in a course. Like, literally follow that, and don't be overwhelmed by it, because we go back to that instant results and instant gratification, that if someone then goes on a journey, they want it to happen after day 1 or day 2. If they have to go into day 3 and day 4 and day 5, like they then become disheartened. So speak out first and foremost. Admit you're in that battle. Speak out. Listen to people. Take the battle inward. Remember what you've already been through, and you're still here. Remember, like, what you're capable of. Remember the bloodline that you've come from. That your mums, dads, nans, granddads, they would have gone through the same things as well, and yet they're still here. You can do the same. Respect the situation that's in front of you. Do not fear it, because that thing comes in, and then fear just absolutely changes the game. And that there is false evidence appearing real, that we literally put the fear on ourselves and become overwhelmed ourselves. And a lot of the stuff that we fear don't actually happen. 98% of the things that we fear and we're scared about don't actually happen. The 1% that does happen, it's not as bad as what we thought it was. The other 1% does happen. It is as bad as what we thought, but we're strong enough to get through it. So we prove to ourselves that we can. So that fear is a massive thing. Respect it. Don't fear it. And just know that there are good people out there, but you have to speak out first.
Yeah. Jamie, I think that is some great advice. And I like how you've got almost a step-by-step process that people can follow. And we will definitely help people access that in a way that's easy to digest through a simple, almost 4 or 5 steps when we share this podcast as well, because I think that is some really key advice and something that when I reflect on how I've maybe got through some of my struggles, it's probably a similar process that has actually worked for me. Ethan, we're going to move on to sort of the last sort of part of the pod that is the part that you own. The floor is yours, mate.
Yes, the floor is mine. Yeah, Jimmy, been an absolute pleasure, mate. You're as deep as the ocean, mate. I can't lie. You've got some great knowledge, and I hope people reach out to you on the back of this. I know you're sort of successful in your own right, and I wish it was under better circumstances. But you're a fabulous man. So, just going into my just going into my sort of section, what we tend to do is we ask our guests. It's called "See No Evil, Hear No Evil." Obviously, there's a lot of negativity in the world. We want to put some positivity out there. So we just sort of like to look to any podcast or book that you sort of read recently, or something that back in the day that really sort of helped motivate you or drive you or help you when you were in that sort of dark area. Let us say it can be a podcast or a book, anything you'd recommend to our listeners,
or a film or something.
Or a film, yeah. Like I think Slater said Titanic was his favorite film of all time not long ago. So anything up to you, Jamie.
Yeah, film wise, there's one that I base a lot of my coaching around, and it's to do with the 300 Spartans. So the film, the 300, like that there is just like incredible for me, that you can be up against like a formidable enemy, but it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality that's inside you, that you can defeat that enemy. Like you need to overcome so many obstacles. Like you need to you need to have good people around you, but just know how powerful you are. The power of one is an unbelievable powerful number, because it was one person that nearly devastated myself and my family with what they did. But I know that one person has changed many lives. So 300, like there, right, incredible. There's a book that I love. It's like a really quick read. It's like a little read, but it's from a guy called Randy Porch. And it's called The Last Lecture. This guy knew that he was dying. He knew that he was dying, and he was a college professor, and he sacrificed time with his family at the end of his life to go and give a lecture to his students, because he thought, I owe them that. I can't let them down. And his family, where he had to travel from one part of America to another, he had to sacrifice time, even though he knew time was running out. This guy knew he was dying, but he was cool as a cucumber. He delivered it with a lot of style, a lot of grace, and he changed people's lives with his words. But so I also like to get in like inspiration and motivation where I can. It's like I talk to people about having a social media cult. It's like social media, it's such an incredible place, but it's also such a toxic place. And what are you seeing on your feeds? And it's like who is bringing the negativity? Who's airing their dirty laundry in public? Who's doing nothing but moaning? Like, you've got to unfollow these people. You've got to block these people. You've got to mute these people. Then go on to the accounts of the people that bring nothing but positivity. It's like one of mine, this person in America, this little girl in America, she doesn't even know that I exist, but I follow her, and her name's Briella, and I've been following her now for about 5 years, and it's shown her cerebral palsy physiotherapy journey, her like taking her steps, and it's just how much effort she needs to put in to literally take one step. And I can remember, like, I was feeling like ill this day, but I knew I had stuff to do, but I was feeling ill. I was feeling, and I was laying in bed, and like I was on Instagram, and it was like Briella's a video come up, and it showed her walking and these little steps that she was taking, and she could only do about 5 like a couple of weeks prior, but now she's up to 10. And I'm thinking, man, like, Briella's moving forward. She's moving forward. It may not be at a fast pace, but she's moving forward. I've got to do the same. I got up out of bed, and I had an unbelievably productive day that day. So that little girl inspired me, laying in bed, feeling sorry for myself, that I was feeling a little bit under the weather and like a little bit down, but she done the trick that day. So there's loads of stuff that you can do yourself, like especially on social media. Have the negative coal, go on a rampage of following the positive, the people that are going to bring loads of benefit to your life. But as a book and a film, it's literally a case of the last lecture 300. But I seem to take lessons from any film. It's like my favorite film of all time. I'm a massive 80s geek. My favorite film of all time, the best trilogy ever made, the Back to the Futures. It's like that there is showing us that, listen, we can desire to go back in time. We can desire to go back in time to change things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it changes us for the better. So why not start living in the present? The present here, being grateful, being appreciative for what we've got here and now. There's two things that we can do nothing about: the past and the future, because the past is gone. The future isn't here yet. Let's do all we can in the present that will benefit ourselves and the people that we love, adore, and care about, that will literally benefit us in the future. And appreciate our time. Time can be taken. It's our most precious resource. It's our most valuable currency. Once spent, it can never, ever, ever be taken back. So when people think that this is a bad life and like we don't want it anymore, what you've got to understand is all the people that jumped off of the Golden State Bridge. I think there was about 300 people that done it. I mean, like, the numbers are varied, but there was about 24 survivors out of the 300 that jumped. You know what? Every survivor, everyone said as soon as they stepped off, they regretted their decision.
They regretted it. Yeah.
Now, the people that actually passed away because of that and their life was taken, how many of them? My question would be, how many of them regretted it as well? So you've got to understand that when things are bad, it's not a bad life. It's a bad moment. It's a bad moment. And I've got to go to my all-time favorite film that literally tells you, gives you everything you need to know about life. And it's an amazing, it's not only the best Christmas film ever made, but the best film, one of the best film ever made, period. Go and watch It's a Wonderful Life. And if you ever doubt yourself as to what value you bring just by doing the ordinary and just by doing, and you being you and you doing the decent thing, if you ever doubt yourself, go and take a lesson from George W. Bailey, the guy like Jimmy Stewart. Like he done the ordinary stuff. He had to do stuff he didn't want to do. He had to sacrifice his college placement and give it to his younger brother. He had to sacrifice his honeymoon because he had to keep his dad's loan business up and running. But what he did was he changed that entire place and he changed people's lives. And it's only when he got taken out of the equation by Clarence, his guardian angel, he saw what life would have been if he hadn't have been there. His brother would have died. He wouldn't have then gone into the army and saved 2,000 soldiers and got the Congressional Medal of Honor. His uncle would have been in an insane asylum because he gave his uncle a job. Like all these people, like all this stuff, man, I can't speak enough about it. Like It's a Wonderful Life is exactly that. So it's not a bad life. It's just a bad moment. And if you ever think that you want to check out, it comes down to this, that you do not want your life to end. You just want your life as you know it to end. So that's why you have to change stuff to get to a point that you are glad that you didn't make that decision back then. And you're so pleased and proud and joyful that you're still here. Phenomenal,
mate. Phenomenal. Thank you for sharing those with us. And I agree with you, mate. I'll have to get that on me watch list. To be fair, I've never seen it. So it sounds like something on last
banger. It's a banger, my man. And I'm really sorry because you're most probably used to people just saying like titles of books, and all of a sudden we're like another half hour in. Sorry, that's like my ADHD and my mild autism and stuff. But yeah, I get kind of excited, you know. So yeah, apologies, gentlemen. Apologies.
Yeah, mate, we enjoy it, mate. Like I say, it's as deep as the ocean, mate. You know, you've got so much sort of positivity, and you really rub off us. So, keep spreading the word, mate, in my opinion. And I could listen to you all night. I know you're a busy man, but I really appreciate your time as the rest of the boys. I don't know if anyone else has got any questions or anything they want to sort of pick your brain with before we'll let you get back to
I think for me, the thing would be, I've took huge inspiration from you for years, mate. Like, I've followed your posts for, like I said, I think we've been connected like 8 years.
Man.
Where can people follow you? Is that obviously we're connected on LinkedIn? Do you have an Instagram account? Do you have
Instagram?
How do people follow you?
Get onto Instagram, right? That's where I kind of hang out the most. but Instagram is under the handle of @griefpreacher. It's all one word, Grief Preacher. That was the name that was given to me inside Park Prison Bridgend by one of the inmates. Now, I wasn't in there doing anything naughty or serving a sentence. I just went in there to do a talk to the inmates. And because I was talking about grief, because I was talking about my nephew, and because I was kind of then giving advice, this inmate called me the Grief Preacher, and it kind of stuck. So @Grief Preacher, follow me on there, and then I can like let you know other avenues to go down on which to see. But we spoke about a promise, gentlemen, didn't we? And it's like about broken promises. There's a promise that I've made to people and I've never ever broken. If you reach out to me and you need help, I will always get back to you, right? If people want to send me a direct message and you're struggling, also on like just Jamie Denyer on Facebook as well. If you literally reach out to me, I will be there for you. It's a promise I've always made. I've never broken, and I don't intend starting now. So if someone needs me, reach out and I'll be there for them. I might not reply instantly, but I will get back to you as soon as I can.
Jamie,
Phenomenal.
you're an absolute legend. Thank you very much for being a truly inspirational guest and for all of the work that you do every single day. Well, boys, we just had Jamie on the podcast there. I have to be honest, that was absolutely incredible. A very, very emotional episode, but there was so much passion, and I don't even know how to describe it. Jamie's just full of so much, like I say, passion, enthusiasm, strength in the words he says. I found myself watching as a listener and as a viewer versus being able to almost host the pod in the way that I feel like I normally can. I don't know about your thoughts.
So say welcome to my world, mate. I'm like that every week. Every week I'm just forgetting I'm on a podcast. I'm just like sitting there listening, nodding away as if I'm just watching and thinking, fuck, I should probably get involved in this a little bit. But yeah, no, I loved it. You know, for me as well, it was a bit of like a felt like a one-on-one grief counseling session at a point, you know, where he's giving us a bit of advice and stuff. So no, I appreciate that. And you give a lot of good points, you know, in the sense that, you know, when we do lose these people that, you know, we have got to live in their memory and, you know, just make them proud of us. And fantastic guest. I think, you know, every week this podcast just getting better and better and better. Every week we see the best guest, and, you know, love Jamie for everything that he's done and everything, you know. I wish him the best of luck, but fantastic, really, really good. What about you, Ethan?
Yeah, same. Do you know? I mean, I want to apologise to people who were listening and watching. Like when Lou brought me in a bit earlier, I was quite taken back by his story about obviously going to the mortuary and spending the hour a day, because it was something that was quite close to me, and something, you know, when my grandfather passed, which I mentioned a couple of times, and I didn't really deep dive, you know, I went and did that, and for me it was horrific because he just didn't look the same, and it's the fact that I'm not ready to process or open up about that, and it took me a bit back, and I was quite emotional. So I'm sorry to anyone who sort of listened or watched, and, you know, I might have waffled on, but that's not usually me. But, you know, hats off to Dean. Dean, your story, you know, is absolutely phenomenal. Not in the sense of what happened, but in the sense of how you cope with it. You know, you've been at rock bottom, no offense, mate, and you've managed to come back. You know, and I'm lucky enough to be coming to your wedding, you know, on Sunday. So, you know, it's absolute massive hats off to you from the journey of where you've been to where you've got to. So, you know, it's amazing to hear that story and learn a bit more about you, like Lou said. So it was amazing to hear that. And you know, Jamie's a fantastic guy. Like I said to his face, and I'll say it again, you know, he's as deep as the ocean, and he's got so much to bring. And as Dino mentioned there, the podcast is just growing and growing and growing. You know, we might have to invite him back on just to let him know that Lewis actually played for Plymouth Argyle, because we didn't this week. So that's something we'll have to make sure, because he said he would come back, so we'll try and do that. That's all right. Don't worry. Went on a high note. But yeah, Jamie's fantastic. What about you, Vindy? You know, you were trying to process it as well, and what was your thoughts, Vindy?
Firstly, put Jamie to a side, because I will comment on that. I feel like I'm a bit of a shit friend to you two for not realizing that you guys had been struggling so much. So I knew that the brief that Dean, obviously you'd lost your grandmother and you were really close to her, and Ethan, obviously I knew you'd lost your granddad and you were close to him, but I didn't realize, or I probably didn't think about it enough as a friend around what that actually meant to you guys. Having personally lost a grandparent myself, and I was super close to my granddad. It was probably the hardest. It's definitely the most emotional I've been around losing anyone. And I'm sorry for probably not being there enough. And I don't expect you to say don't be sorry. I'm not saying it for that.
Well,
I'm
it is
saying
what it is, that though, isn't it? Like,
but what I'm saying is, us as a group of friends, if this gives us anything as a group of friends, is that we know each other on a different level than we probably did, because we don't have those conversations. We'll rip the shit out of each other all day, every day. Like, obviously, Ethan, at any chance, will try and rip me for being bald or having played football or whatever. And I will rip him for playing Ethan Bingo every week for the fact he's hurt his back, or Ryan and his other 7 friends, Ryan and Rob.
Don't forget
Ryan and
Rob.
Rob. There's not 7 of them. Yeah, don't forget Rob.
Ryan and Rob, the 7 friends every podcast, or the fact that he lives by himself or he hasn't got a girlfriend. That comes out every episode. Bless him. So
how do you know
there's
I'm
the
not
bite
got
right there. But yeah, so from that perspective, that's definitely something that I will definitely work on, and I said it myself on the podcast, to get away from the "hi, you're right, yeah, you" conversations to "no, you're actually all right, do you need chat" sort of thing. That next level. I was really taken aback by how strong Jamie is, in the sense of he's gone through some real shit, like bad shit, losing 2 really close family members to 2 horrific ways. That cannot be easy, and the fact that he still has the strength of character to use that pain to help others, it's selfless. It's truly selfless, and I have nothing but respect and appreciation for him and the work that he does. Like I said, we've been connected for a long time online, and we've exchanged messages before in the past. And when he says he's there, if someone needs him to reach out, I can attest for he is. He's that guy who goes out his way to be helpful to others, and it's not just words that he says; it's his actions back it up. And I think it's really rare in life to come across people like that, especially in today's society. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone's trying to get something out of someone. And Jamie obviously runs his own business, but the conversations we've had, it's never been something where I felt like he was doing it for any other reason than just to be a nice guy and helpful. Job, your camera is off. I think that's because you mustn't have a cap on or something, trying to hide the fact that you're a baldy too. How did you find tonight's episode?
Oh, sorry, I thought I was still on a talking ban. No,
To be fair, just before you start, Chris, we've swapped Slater, who doesn't say anything this week, for Joby, who, I would have loved to have seen JB and Joby go at it. That would have been like a Clash of the Titans. Joby and JB.
It'd be like an
just
MC
talking to
battle.
each other. And that would be honestly.
Are you trying to say I speak too much? Is that what you're saying, Ethan? Is it?
Would I say that?
Oh, never. To be fair, at this point, I'm thinking we may as well get Rob and Ryan on as guests as the podcast. To be fair,
Don't worry.
I'm already working on enough about them, so we'll have to do that one. But no, seriously, on a serious note, Jamie, wow. I mean, I said it to himself. I mean, he's got a God-given talent. And it's just a privilege that he actually uses that, because what a shame the world would be if he didn't, like from the producing side of it, sat back, and this episode just completely sucked us in. And kind of the lads have touched on it as well, but Dino's story, wow. I feel privileged that you shared that with us. I really, really do, because I feel like it helped a lot of us to kind of break barriers down of maybe what we don't speak about or what we don't feel comfortable. And to see the fact that you're going to be marrying the love of your life soon, and all of that stemmed from technically what was a horrible situation to have to go through. kind of what Jamie said about, you wouldn't be where you are today without what happened in the first place. And to be honest, guys, I just think for me, it's helped me think about speaking to friends more and talking to yous and talking to my partner and making sure that I'm certainly not alone in the scenario, and I want my family and my friends to know they're not alone as well. So it's definitely helped me, and I hope it's helped even just one listener today. That would be the goal, really, isn't it? So that's my point on this episode.
Yeah. Anything from you guys, Dean, Ethan, before we wrap it up?
No, just again, top man on tonight. Job, thanks for keeping it short. Appreciate that,
thank
mate.
you. Thank you. Actually, I do have one more point, Ethan. I actually
Okay.
really creased at the point where Jamie called Slater a vicar. I was
it was funny. It was good, wasn't it?
tears. I was like, because he literally looked at that moment because of the camera. He looked like he was in a vicarage. I was like, that is just absolute jokes. But
He looked like he was in a vicarage, or he looked
well,
like
you
a
know what I
vicar.
mean. He's just part of a vicarage. I'm sure they live in vicarages or whatever it's called.
Jesus
Sorry if I've
Christ.
offended Eddie.
Yeah, you're clutching at straws there, Joby.
I'll smooth myself. Thanks, boys.
Yeah, well, thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight. It has been an incredible episode. We are so grateful for listeners. One thing that I would say is, if you're getting something out of this podcast and the conversations that we're having, let us know. Please share it with your friends and your mates as well, because this only does what we want it to do if people listen. And we want people to listen to our podcast and understand that you don't have to struggle alone. You don't have to suffer in silence. Take action, speak up, and make the positive changes in your life to make it better. So this has been the Everyman. Thank you very much for listening tonight, and we will catch you on the next one.
Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life.